Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. Of course, I am your host, Stacy Brown.
Peace and love, everybody. I'm your co-pilot, Niele Anderson. And this morning we have headlines and updates on the Trey Reed lynching. Donna Brazil wants a Congress member to retire, plus headlines on Jay-Z, TikTok, and more on this morning's edition of Let It Be Known.
Yeah, I'm gonna start using Pilot, just so you'll know. Since you say co-pilot, I'm gonna start using Pilot. I like that. Let's see what our director, you can call her our director too, but producer has for us to start off this morning.
Who knew that rich white men would be the canary in the coal mine of American capitalism? A few weeks ago, they got rid of Stephen Colbert. Today, they suspended Jimmy Kimmel. They're letting us know they ain't scared of none of us. None of us. It's time to come together, y'all. Strength in numbers.
You hope that Charlie Kirk's death won't be used by a group we now call bad actors to create a society that was the opposite of the one we worked to build. You hope that. You hope that a year from now, the turmoil we're seeing in the aftermath of his murder won't be leveraged to bring hate speech laws to this country. And trust me, if it is, if that does happen, there is never a more justified moment for civil disobedience than that, ever. And there never will be. Because if they can tell you what to say, they're telling you what to think. There is nothing they can't do to you because they don't consider you human. They don't believe you have a soul. A human being with a soul, a free man, has a right to say what he believes, not to hurt other people, but to express his views. You hope that Charlie Kirk's death won't be used by a group we now call bad actors to create a society that was the opposite of the one he worked to build. You hope that.
Yo, we just cannot in good conscience any longer support large corporations, conglomerates, monopolies. Like, we have to actively support independently owned everything. Content, stores, apps, whatever. We have given them way too much power. Please just repost this so it gets the traction it needs. And in the comments, I need you to tag anything independent you know, from an app to a clothing store. Any independent brand that you know, tag it. Y'all, we just cannot in good conscience any longer support.
Wake up! What? Wake up! Wake up! Come on, come on. Wake up!
Well, you know, so the Jimmy Kimmel thing, number one, that the first video we saw, that's not a suspension. That's going to be permanent. Number one, and then to have a Tucker Carlson as the voice of reason, shows you the level, the depths of the trouble that we are in. To have Tucker Carlson be the voice of reason there.
I mean, there's a lot going on. I know Texas Rep Troy Niles claimed that Charlie Kirk should be the 13th disciple. That was just outlandish. And then you had Rep Omar Ilion censured in the Congressional Black Caucus making a statement. And then, of course, Jimmy Kimmel. So there are so many headlines that came out yesterday that this Trump administration this Klan is just doing havoc and wrecking havoc. And I think that when Isaac Hayes posted that, and it was a collaboration with Roland Martin, the Wake Up from School Days, it was on point. It was on target because so much is happening, and now we're seeing with Jimmy Kimmel, this is not just our fight. I think they're waking up now to see that it's all of our fights now.
Mhm. Well, and listen, to see him see this administration be able to control the media, who gets hired, who gets fired, um, the mainstream media, uh, folks, this is simply a dictator behavior. This is, and then when the president was in London yesterday, people laughed at his first second crazy commentary, but at the end of that commentary, he once again declared very subtly he doesn't plan to leave the White House in 2028. This is where we are, folks. A clear, true dictatorship is upon America.
Not to mention that last night he tweeted out a thank you to ABC. We also found out that Nexstar, one of the parent companies that owns the affiliate ABCs across the country, so local news networks, they're trying to purchase some company called Tegna, and the FCC has to pass that, right? And so, in order for the FCC to pass that, which is a federal agency that is under the control of the Trump clan, you know, that's what they had to do. Same thing happened with CBS when they wanted to do the merger with Paramount. And so Donald Trump and his clan are yielding their power to control. And then Sinclair. If you remember, Sinclair put out a statement yesterday that said, in place of Jimmy Kimmel on Friday, they're going to run a Charlie Kirk special. And if you
Mhm.
recall, Sinclair is the network that bought the WGN, which the show, what was our favorite show? The Underground was on. So
Mhm.
Sinclair bought the network that the Underground was on, got rid of that, and because guess what? A few years later, they trying to put us back on controlled plantations. So it is just, what the media is doing. When we saw all of those individuals sitting behind Donald Trump during his inauguration, they focused on the tech community, but there were a lot of other billionaires in that room, some of them owning networks and conglomerate television stations. And so, to our opening monologue with the girl saying, we got to start, boycotting, television stations might be next.
Well, yeah, she mentioned the go independent, and you're right. That's probably, well, not probably. It should include television stations, anything to do with mainstream. If it's not independent, I think she's 100% right. This is part of what got us in this situation, being reliant
Mhm.
on corporate America and anything to do with that aspect. And now they are controlling all of the power. Um, well, at least they are controlling everything because and being controlled by the administration.
Right, for sure. Because Nexstar, Sinclair, all of these corporations are bowing down to Trump in order to get what they need to make more money. And who suffers from it? The American people.
Yeah, 100%. Um, this is, as James Brown said, it's gotten far too gone. So,
Right. I mean, this week I felt like the week when Kamala Harris lost. That
mm,
just gut wrenching feeling. That's what this week feels like. It also reminded me of that lump in my throat and how my stomach felt when he was inaugurated and all the havoc that he put. This week, starting off with the lynching of two Black men in response to what happened last week. This is what Black America is feeling. Okay. Now we can say that it was alleged, but what Black America is feeling is that what happened last week is a direct connection to these two Black people being lynched. And so it is a bad week for America.
I go back to that root article we talked about yesterday and how they connected all of the dots in probably 800 words. And that was brilliantly done on the root. So you're absolutely right. And that's where we are. And Mike V says, make no mistake, the Black press is next. Um, that it is so important to be as independent as
Mhm,
possible.
mhm,
We talked about this recently, and
mhm,
again, the call has been out there for our wealthy Black community to get behind Black owned media.
mhm,
um I know Roland Martin is doing his thing. He's starting his news wire and everything else that he's doing. Um, but I think what one of the points, and Roland's on point, but one of the points he misses is that it is hard in this climate and has been hard for some time for Black owned media to have the resources to do what he aims to do. Now, maybe Roland has found the secret sauce, and hopefully that's true. But, I saw what he said, and I can't disagree with anything he said, except that he's missing the point that Black owned media for a decade now, at least, has not had the resources to have folks here, folks there, real, as he said, boots on the ground. Now, in a sense, the National Newspaper Publishers Association, the Black Press of America, does have that, has had that infrastructure for almost 200 years. We have newspapers in so many cities across
mhm.
the country. And it's about, and there's that video about Black people waking up. It's just about working together, working as a team, working as a conglomerate. We have that in place. What Roland is seeking to build, we have it already. Put some resources behind us, put the right people in place. We already have the infrastructure. It's as simple as that.
Well, I think the one thing, I saw the comment, I think it was by Mike V that says, make no mistake, the Black
Mhm.
press is next. The one thing about the Black press is they've been through harder times than this. Okay. And so that is one of the longevity pieces that, no matter what Donald Trump does, cannot take away from the Black press because they're going to print anyway, right? They've done this for almost 200 years. And that is the value and the backbone, of why we're here. And like YouTube could go away. You know what I mean? Very well so. Like they could censure us. They could ban Roland Martin. They could ban Joy Reid and Don Lemon because we're on these wide platforms. But guess what's still gonna print? In every Black community across this country, and that is a Black newspaper. And
Yeah,
so to your point, Stacy, like we have to support our Black newspapers because at the end of the day, they're probably going to be the pipeline to keep the Black experience,
100%.
the Black stories, and our point of view alive.
Yeah, 100. Always have been. Always have been. The Black press has been the conduit through Reconstruction, through slavery. Look, it was started, and we keep saying this, but folks can't forget that the Black press began before slavery ended, and it was the conduit for messages. Later on in the Civil Rights Movement, we know who did messages go to? How did Black people get the right messaging? And that was through the Black press.
Yeah, and it might be
So
something that we don't even, like, we're talking about it, but it might be something that everybody's going to FAFO. They're going to
yeah,
find out.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And that goes for other so-called Black serving or Black, what do you call it? Black focused or however you say it. Those who are not Black owned. But the Black press is Black owned. 200, almost 200 years. Imagine that. 200 years. What other entity can say that they are 200 years old? That's an amazing thing. So here we are, and it would be it's like shooting your head off if you let the black press die. And especially in this environment.
I mean, I don't think it's gonna. I think it's more relevant
Oh,
than ever.
oh,
You know.
exactly, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's crazy, but nonetheless, here we are, and we will continue to do what we do. And speaking of, Trey Reed's family is looking for answers. Because come on, they got the call that no parent should ever receive. Police told the parents that he was found dead in his dorm room. But the truth, the brutal truth, they learned from a news report, not from the authorities, but from a news report, that his body was hanging from a tree on campus. How does a family process that level of deception? And so, Ben Crump is on the scene, Niele, and the NAACP is simply calling this what it is, a lynching. What do
Mhm.
they tell this family? Like you said, that police chief, the first thing he did was say something that was crazy, that, no foul play. The first thing, without investigating.
Right.
But then we
Right.
learned that you lied to the family immediately off the bat. They had to learn from the news what happened. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. It definitely is something that Black media has to amplify, because the mainstream media is not talking about this. I watched yesterday to see, and they were not talking about this at all. And plus, there was another Black man that's lynched, and it's sad that only one, is beginning to trend on social media and be amplified. But there was another Black person in Mississippi, the place where Emmett Till was murdered, and how many other souls were lynched.
Hmm.
There were two people that were lynched.
Yep.
And there is nothing on, and I didn't hear, like, besides the Congressional Black Caucus, I didn't hear any other lawmakers talking about, what happened in Mississippi.
Nope. Not at all. Not at all. And remember, again, the other individual who was lynched in Mississippi and hang from a tree, it was a homeless man. It was an
And his life
unhoused man.
matters. His life matters. Homeless or not, his life matters.
And that's the point, because a couple of days before, that Fox News host said what? He said homeless people or unhoused people. He used the word homeless. They mentally ill homeless people should be killed. Just a couple of days earlier. And he's on the air, by the way. He's still on the air. And so maybe they need to look at that. Maybe Fox News needs to look at that. Just as Sinclair and ABC said, Jimmy, you messed up. We can't tolerate that. Well, where's Fox's response?
And the other man that was the 36-year-old man's
Mhm.
name is Corey Zacchaeus.
Yep.
36 years old, was found later in the day near a casino in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And that's something that's important, that we should say their names. Their
Mhm.
lives matter, whether they didn't matter to anybody else. And I think, like, at this point in our nation, we have to start calling it. White men are the number one terrorist threat in this country, starting all the way up to the Trump Klan administration. They are the number one terrorists in this country. They just tried to erase it from the Department of Justice. Yesterday, you saw Donald Trump talking about he's putting Antifa on the list and taking away all of his comrades who are the number one threats to our humanity. It's them.
Mhm.
It's white men. Call it for what it is. White men are the number one threat to this country. And just because they are racist from the Department of Justice does not mean that it goes away. And we need to say it more. White men in power, congressional white men, Trump administration white men in rural America, They are the number one threat to this country, and we need to start calling it out for what it is. If even if Stacy, we're not all on the same page as Black media, there still should be a unified message that we continually push out, because them white men, they're doing it. They're on all of the networks every day pushing their agenda.
Joseph Ferguson says, meanwhile, white folks continue to say that we choose this lynching because we refuse to speak up, or we are, quote, perpetually victims. Orange notes that in Atlanta, outside of Atlanta's Apex Museum, a rope tied in a noose-like shape was discovered. Um, it's they're sending their messages, and
Mm-hmm.
like you said, our message has to be that in a unified front, we have to call it out.
White men are the number one threat to the United States of America. That's it, and that's all.
60 stolen years. This is another example of what African Americans have gone through and continue to go through in this country. William Hunt walked out of that prison. He wasn't broken. In 1967, they told guards to break him, but they never did, and apparently never will. He spent nearly his entire life caged for a murder that they've said now that it was his brother who committed the murder. And so he watched decades of his youth, his family, his freedom slip away. He's 80 years old now, and he vows to use whatever time he has left
Mhm.
to reach young people, to pull them from the streets, and to make his stolen years count for somebody else's salvation.
Mm.
William
You
Hunt.
know, prison reform out the window, criminal justice reform out the window. Because now it's just based upon what Negro Donald Trump wants to be kind to, and what value they have to make him look good, and so these are the things that we have to remember, that we have to continue to fight for, because there's so many of our Black and brown brothers and sisters that are in. Now, I'm not saying that a lot of people need to go to jail. A lot of people deserve to be in prison. I'm not one to say I'm not an abolitionist. I'm not that. But I do believe that systemic racism is real, and that whole criminal system that we have was designed not to put white men in prison, or not to be a fair, just system, but to attack people of color. And so now, we have to fight even harder. People
Mhm.
like Ben Crump, Attorney Lee Merritt, Attorney Suzanne Robinson, Demario, that's fighting for, Mother Fletcher in Oklahoma. Civil rights attorneys are so important for us right now because they're on the front line.
Yeah, Mike V says 80 years. Meanwhile, people who tried to overthrow the government are released early from their sentencing and given government jobs,
Yes.
administration jobs. uh, um, yeah, 60 years. Wow. It's really, really a shame. And Mike V, you're right. You're right. Folks who, and they brought nooses to that insurrection on January 6th, that riot.
Hmm.
They bought
Hmm.
nooses. They erected uh, places to hang.
And
In
they
their
didn't make
words,
that a
Mike
big,
Pence,
yeah. And they didn't
and
make that a
and
big deal. They
no,
did. They
not at
didn't. They
all.
didn't like. We talked about January 6th to nausea, but we never focused on the symbolic, gesture of those lynchings, displays that were there. They never.
Yeah.
They always want to gloss over that, and not to mention yesterday in Atlanta. There was alleged nooses found around an African American museum, and the Homeland Security said, no, that's not what it was. So that's the statement they put out.
Hmm.
But it was rope found around the African American Museum. Some are saying it was nooses. I
They
know
were
the
tied
president,
like nooses. Yes, they were,
yeah,
according to some, many people. Yeah.
right. And the president of the NAACP in Atlanta said, he put out a statement, but the Homeland Security put out their statement, which is the statement that the museum ran with. So they
Mm,
lying, they killing.
mm, mm, mm. Um, Former President Barack Obama, Niele, says that America is at an inflection point and that Donald Trump has divided the country. He warned that America stands at this point now after Charlie Kirk's killing. He said the nation must decide whether it will allow political violence to corrode democracy or insist on a code of debate without bloodshed. I think we have a clip. He further goes on to condemn Donald Trump for
even
fueling.
before
There
we
you
had
go.
determined who the perpetrator of this evil act was, that somehow we're going to identify an enemy. We're going to suggest that somehow that enemy was at fault. And we are then going to use that as a rationale for trying to silence discussion around who we are as a country and what direction we should go. And that's a mistake as well. When I hear not just our current president, but his aides, who have a history of calling political opponents vermin, enemies, who need to be targeted. That speaks to a broader problem that we have right now. And something that we're going to have to grapple with, all of us, whether we're Democrats, Republicans, independents. We have to recognize that on both sides, undoubtedly there are people who are extremists and who say things that are contrary to what I believe are America's core values. But I will say that those extreme views were not in my White House.
He said the role of a president is to bind the nation together, not rip it apart.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike V, I'm with you. He says even when I disagree with Barack, his analysis is refreshing at this time.
Sense and sensibility. That's what it is. And when we think about even the fact that if those white folks are comparing Charlie Kirk disgustingly to MLK, we didn't get the grace that they are forcing us to have upon this racist man who said racist things, right? A lot of white people felt the same way, the way we feel about Charlie Kirk. A lot of white people felt the same way about, Dr. Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. But we didn't get the grace when they murdered murdered Dr. King. They didn't do that for us. And so it's like despicable to hear how they are trying to equate something of a civil rights movement for equality for all people to what this man was trying to do. And now people are losing their jobs. People are being lynched. They want to make it we're going to talk about that a little later. But, and on Sunday, they're giving him this stadium funeral, which they're probably busing people in, okay? I'm not sure that he could pack out a football stadium, but nevertheless, I'm not saying he could or couldn't. But you're going to have Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and all types of congressional members there to honor a racist.
But some of the comments, Niele, and they're going really, really fast here. Those comments, I'm seeing it. Mike V says, for instance, Trump couldn't get enough folks to his birthday parade. It's the state of this nation. It's the state of this world. I mean, you look across the pond and you see the protest over there. Things have gone. The world is a fire. It's on fire. It's burning really, really badly.
And I'm
And
offended that the royal family had dinner with him yesterday, because in the beginning it seemed like Charles
mm,
was not, going to play with Donald Trump. And then yesterday you see this grand Gilded Age dinner, this long table, you know, and Melania in a spring dress. Who gonna tell her? Fall starts Monday. Okay, she don't even represent us well. That that lampshade she had on her head yesterday. I mean, just the embarrassment as an American I have when they go and represent us across the world. It is just embarrassing.
the folks really were up in arms too that he just totally, as always, he broke protocol. He walked ahead of the king, and um, then like I said, that little speech he gave about being the first president, um, being there, and the second time, and then whatever. I couldn't even. What in the Don? What message were you trying to convey, Mr. President? It was so confusing.
I
Oh my
mean, and then he
God.
went all out. He had on the grand tuxedo. I mean, he was like, I waited for this all my life.
Yeah,
But guess
yeah.
what? When he walked out that place, there were projected images of him and Epstein all across the
Mm,
pond.
mm.
Release
Whew.
the files, Trump.
There's probably some really good reasons, as we know, that those files are not being released. That's a whole nother story. I've been hearing from some folks involved in that stuff, by the way, and there is a lot to it. I'm well, not sure how much we will ever be able to get into it, but nonetheless, there's a whole lot, as we can imagine.
Wait, Patricia Jackson is saying that they're charging an entry fee for Charlie Kirk's funeral. I'm trying to confirm that. I wouldn't be surprised. No, it says how to attend. The event is free to attend and registration
Oh,
is required. I wouldn't be surprised though.
mm, wow. I have never heard anybody be in charge to go to a funeral.
I never thought
Man,
I'd see the day that the Klan would be running the country again, but hey, stranger
yeah.
things have happened.
Well, just to lighten it up just a little bit, and I really want the chat to chime in on this one. Nick Cannon says he had 12 kids to cope with his breakup with Mariah Carey. He
Mm,
says that the kids came from trauma, not triumph. He admits that it was careless, born of heartbreak after him and Mariah left, and it was fueled by money, access, and unhealed pain. He calls it a trauma response, but what he's really exposing is how certain men, especially those with fame and resources, are often left to medicate wounds with excess instead of healing. But it's a wild statement that Nick Cannon, I thought a wild statement that Nick Cannon put out. This was his coping mechanism,
mm.
that he would go out and just make babies with everybody because him and Mariah couldn't make it.
Yeah, I've heard him say different things about why
And
he
so
has
have
so many.
I, right?
So I mean, it's just, he probably felt like he wasn't trending enough. So Mariah's Christmas is about to come out, so let me jump back in the
He, but
headlines.
he has said, not recently, but in the past, maybe a year or so ago, he said that was his biggest mistake, letting Mariah go. So well, it appears that he's always carried this torch for her, and has been, trying to cope with the fact that they divorced. I always found it, in my view, from the beginning, I always thought it was not necessarily it was pretty odd pairing in my view from day one.
Well, I mean, Mariah has a type. She's now, allegedly, and we've seen them several times together. Anderson Paak, who's from LA, was formerly, probably still in a band with Bruno Mars. They had a huge residency in Las Vegas. And, he has vibes like Nick Cannon. So that's her type.
What about his type?
Who?
Nick's.
And
Nick Cannon's type. What is his type?
I mean, look at his baby's mamas, and they all kind of, have that mixed look to them.
Mm-hmm.
So he likes, a nice mixed woman.
Because back in the day, I thought him and his co-host would have made Christina Milian would have made a nice couple.
Oh, she's like, yeah, isn't she biracial?
She probably is, yeah. Christina
Yeah, I
Milian.
mean, so you say what's his type?
Yeah.
She's, he likes a biracial woman. And so, I mean, that's his type. But Mariah has a type. I'm talking about her type. Forget his type. Mariah has a type. There's Anderson Paak right there. I mean, he is dope.
He kind of has a
Yeah.
Nick Cannon type vibe to him.
And he's a dope musician, plays the drums, I believe the keyboard. He's a musician, not just a singer, very talented. I mean, and works with Dr. Dre. He has a little, hood side to him, so, like Nick Cannon. So Mariah has a type. Nick has a type, Mariah has a type.
Dr. Marilyn says she saw an interview with Nick Cannon where he couldn't remember at least 2 of his children's names.
I can believe it. I bet you if he did that on TikTok, there's a game where the father sits or the grandfather, and then all of the children are behind you, and you have to identify the child by their name or say their birthday. I'm pretty sure that he would miss a couple.
Total kids, I guess so. Shanae says, I think Nick Cannon might be actually admitting that this was one of the reasons he was so recklessly irresponsible with himself and all those women who have had his children. I think that is exactly what he was. Well, that is exactly what he was saying, that this is the reason that he was so reckless and irresponsible.
But he wasn't saying that 6 months ago. He had a whole nother reason.
He had a different story.
6 months before that, it was a whole nother reason. And so now, today, this is the reason.
And then we have a commenter. I'm sorry, Niele, but this is interesting. I don't think she means this in jest, but yes, ma'am, I am says, I thought he was originally trying to get stem cells for his lupus.
Hey, that I could believe it.
Yeah. And Joseph Ferguson reminds us too, and I'm glad he brought this up, that Nick Cannon and Elon Musk are doing the same reckless things with their kids. Elon Musk also has a brood of kids and baby mamas too. Mm-hmm. It's not just black folks, black men.
Yeah. Papa Rosa Rolling Stone was not for a specific race.
And Shanae says, I don't think it was the main reason, but one of many. Yeah, I mean, Nick has come out, like you said, with a few different stories, but what happened? Do you know, Niele, what happened that caused him and Mariah to divorce?
No, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to why they did, but I do know that as long as he could take care of his children, like Bobby Brown, is his prerogative.
See, I don't necessarily agree with that.
It's not hurting nobody. It's his business.
But it's hurting the kids, isn't it? When you can't remember your child's name or you don't have enough time to spend with that child, doesn't that hurt the kid someday?
I would rather it's a lot of single kids out here with no daddy at all and no financial support. So, I mean, I'd rather have a daddy with tons of money. You ain't got to remember my name. Just remember when you're supposed to drop that payment.
Do you think more, Shanae asked this question, Niele, do you think more men would be this way if they had the money that Nick and other men like him have and Elon Musk?
Like what?
Just out there having like kids from everybody.
I mean, broke. I'm about to say something that we say in girlfriend trial, but broke men have tons of kids with no money and don't pay nothing. I mean, it's just, I mean, this is nothing new under the sun. Okay, nothing new. I mean, it's
So,
just Nick has a platform to be able to say what he wants when he wants. But having all of these kids ain't nothing new in
what's the name?
America.
What's the singer or rapper who has the three
Future.
wives? Not Future, but has the three wives at one time, or the three girlfriends they all live together.
Oh, Neo.
Neo.
Yeah, I
So
mean, well,
I'm
Neo is
just
totally different. This is totally different. Neo is on some old other type stuff. Okay, a
okay.
whole nother thing. Nick Cannon just has a ton of kids. I mean, Future. I mean, this is nothing new. It's just that he has a platform to be able to give you provocative conversation about it. But having tons of baby ain't nothing new for a black
Okay.
man or a white man or a Latino man. The only thing about a Latino man is he gonna stick with his family. He gonna have a
So
ton of kids and he gonna be in the house.
okay, so we got a few folks, Neil, seem to be disagreeing with you a little bit. Dr. Joni says that's not true. She says, of course, it's better that he can support them financially, but children need more than money. And Patricia Jackson says, love you, Neil, but broke or rich, be irresponsible. And Dr. Marilyn says, finances aren't everything.
Well, I'm telling you, as a single child, I'd rather have a father with a big pocketbook that pays his child support every month, and I don't see him, than to have a father not at all. So ask the single child that question. I
Yeah,
mean, I know in
but wouldn't
theory,
it be? Yeah, wouldn't
of
it be?
course, it would be
Yeah.
great. That's just not how things are, y'all. It's a lot of single kids out here that don't have a father at all and have a single mother working hard every day. I mean, that's just reality.
And
So, I mean,
we talked. Oh, go
yeah, I
ahead. Go
mean,
ahead. Finish.
we want to have, and there are a lot of men. Now, I'm not saying that this is the standard for men. I never said that. I'm just saying
Right.
that this is a reality in our society. And it happens. Nick Cannon just has the platform. Future, another one, tons of babies. You see what Sierra and Russell Wilson just did? Sierra just gave a future son, Little Future has his daddy's name, but she just gave Little Future Russell Wilson's last name.
That's a shot.
Right.
That is a that is a shot that is that I don't know their situation, but that sounds sort of like a cheap shot. But
Man,
petty, you
now
talking
his
about
name
petty?
is Future. The
Yeah.
son's
Right,
name is
right.
Future, and
Yeah.
she gave his.
So
Now
he's
he's
a
Future
future
Wilson.
Wilson. He's a
Right.
future Wilson.
Let's
That's
talk about
that's
that.
I don't know the situation, but just hearing it like this without having context. So Sierra, if by chance you're watching, I'm not judging you, but I don't know the facts. But that seems extremely petty.
No, listen, I gotta jump in there. Okay. I gotta say
I don't know the facts. You don't have to jump in. I'm
Future
saying
is
I don't know the
not
facts.
he has opted to not be present. Okay. Now, whether
Okay.
he pay or not, but if another man
There you go.
is raising your child, and they have a whole family, listen, and this isn't something from my understanding that just happened. It's been the case, but it came to somebody wrote that, I think, or it was written somewhere, and she was questioned about it. So I don't think this is something new. It's just something that we,
So if he is
aware of.
totally right, if he doesn't want anything to do with the child, if he's
But
not,
that's not true. It's
and
not that he
No, I didn't say he didn't want
doesn't
anything to do
That's
with the
not
child.
true,
He's just
Stacy.
not active in the
Yeah.
child's life and hasn't been.
so is he okay? So let me ask this because Niele brought this part up: is he financially supporting the child?
I'm pretty sure he is. He supports all his kids.
Then I don't agree with that. I think that's wrong.
But the thing about it is he doesn't really have to. I don't know if he's consistent or not, but I mean, she's married to Russell Wilson. And so, maybe,
So what?
I totally agree. These are rich people conversations that I can't contribute to but I mean, this is just how, they do their thing. But I'll tell you what, if Nick Cannon was my daddy, and as long as he was making them checks, I wouldn't give a damn. I wouldn't give a damn. Well, as a matter of fact, I want my mama to marry a Russell Wilson. Just keep that check coming till she finds him.
But listen, this is what. So I'm assuming Helen Brown, and if I'm wrong, forgive me. I'm assuming Helen Brown is a black woman, but this is what Helen writes. She says, "Why is the dark one off to the side?" See,
You
only
know
black
what?
people gonna say.
You know what?
What else you got this morning?
And
I
remember,
love it.
Cardi she's pregnant now with
Oh
Stefan.
gosh. Oh my God. I don't dance now. I'm making money moves.
Yeah, yeah.
She making baby moves. Didn't somebody say that Stefan has another baby or two on the way as well?
Yeah, I mean, allegedly. Yeah,
Allegedly.
allegedly. And they did a joke or a social post with all of the players, and they asked all the players, what player would you not want your sister to date? And overwhelmingly, they all said Stefan
Stefan.
Diggs.
Oh my God. I feel, Cardi, I think Cardi is a woman who in some sense, she's probably not depressed like she was, and I know people are going to lose their minds when I make this comparison. But the wonderful, wonderful, talented, and I can't think of her singer's name, but we talked about
Who?
her recently, and who committed suicide in the 1990s.
Phyllis
Great,
Hyman?
Phyllis Hyman, and I say that because Phyllis Hyman,
You're
in
comparing
her
Cardi to Phyllis?
in her
Okay.
suicide note, watch me connect this, and again I could be wrong. In her suicide note, and those close to her also acknowledged this, Phyllis was so depressed because she couldn't find real love, true love. That was her biggest issue, not being able to find true love. I think Cardi B is looking for true love in all the wrong places. And I'm not saying Cardi in any way is going to commit suicide, but I think Cardi is making bad choices because, in my opinion, bad choices
Mhm.
because she is looking for love in all the wrong places, and she really wants that. I think Cardi B wants that family life.
Yeah, but also, I mean, I play devil's advocate and say, Stefan Diggs is not a bad person to have a baby by, because you're gonna get a fat check till they
Uh-huh.
turn. Hey,
Cardi
I'm
don't need a
just
check.
saying. Hey, people say that, but based upon how you live your lifestyle, if you have a expensive lifestyle, you got to keep them checks coming in. Okay. And so you have to keep those endorsements coming in. That is a hustle.
I believe,
Having a child,
mhm,
is a secured paycheck.
mhm. I
And he makes,
believe,
go ahead.
I believe that when Cardi had said that she would just for that normal home life, she would give that up. That
Mm.
and I kind of believe her. I don't believe most celebrities when they say that. I used to have this conversation all the time with Jermaine Jackson. He was always say, "Oh, I would give it all up just to go back to the simple life of Gary," and I never believed him. I told him I didn't believe him, and to this day, I would never believe that about him. Cardi, I can kind of believe it only because I think that she does value that family life, that husband, wife, and children, and raising kids together and stuff. And that's perhaps explains why Offset was able to do what he was able to do, allegedly going out constantly cheating.
Yeah, she's a new age wife. She's one to say she likes a freak off. She likes women. I mean, she's not your traditional wife. She's not a trad wife, Stacy. I'm sorry. She's
Yeah.
not. And,
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 oh,
and
Gris,
trad
that ain't
trad
no allege.
right, trad is a term that I've learned on TikTok, which means traditional. So they call them trad wives. She's not a traditional wife at all. Dr. Mellon said, I disagree, Niele. You are speaking from a grown woman perspective. Children don't care about money. They want time and attention. I agree, but I'm also speaking from being raised by a single mother. And
Mhm.
so, and watching her have to, take care of me all by herself, of course, with the support of my grandparents. So I'm also speaking from experience too.
Yeah. And
And
just
I would have
again,
loved that. I would have
yeah.
loved, and then watching, my mother had my sister when I was like 16,
Mhm.
and her father was financially contributing to the situation, and I saw the difference that it made. And so I'm speaking from that experience as well.
Yeah.
So I
I
mean,
get it.
yeah.
And just again, just to punctuate and be clear, because even Shanae is asking why are we comparing Cardi B to Phyllis Hyman. I'm comparing the fact that they both were. Phyllis was a superstar looking for love, could never find love, and that depressed her to the point of suicide. I'm not saying Cardi is going to commit suicide. I'm just saying Cardi is also one who seems to be looking for love. And even Dr. Joni says that she says it really does seem like she is empty and hurting and probably could use some therapy.
Oh,
And that's all I'm saying.
I hope nobody clips this because Carly gonna come for us.
Listen,
And she gonna tell us how she really feel.
I
really
like
don't
Cardi
think
B.
she-
I don't listen to her music, but I don't know her music except that one song that people repeat. I don't dance now. I'm making money moves. But I like the personality Cardi B. I do. I like that a lot. I find it very amusing. I find her to be absolutely hilarious.
Most people do. Most people
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. And Dr. Nicole says Phyllis was clinically depressed. Yeah, she was, and
Yeah.
she stated herself that that was depression that was exacerbated by the fact that she could never find in her words, a good man.
Yeah, and some of us are stronger than others, but I mean, Carly doesn't want anything different than any other woman wants. You know what I mean? Like she has money and fame, but she's no different from any of us women in the chat.
Yeah,
Everybody
I think it
wants
goes back
love
to
and happiness. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But at the same time, Cardi is different.
Yeah.
Cardi will do whatever with whoever, whenever she feels like it. Okay. And so 5 years from now, if hers to Carly might be with a woman. She plays by her own game. She might, when you have that much money, it's okay to have tons of babies because guess what? You feel like you could take care of them.
Well,
And who knows? This could be a revenge baby to stick it to Offset. We really don't know.
which again shows if that's the case, then she does need some therapy, as Dr. Joni says. She needs some help.
Welcome to the hood, Stacy. Welcome to the hood. This happens every
Is that
day.
how it is in the hood?
It happens every day in your local
Benton's, baby.
neighborhood. And I'm not just talking about Black. This could happen in the trailer park. Okay?
Oh yeah, without question. Let's be clear
So,
that the ghetto is not Black. It's not all Black.
Right. And the only difference between Cardi, Nick Cannon, and even Sierra is that they're famous and we know their business. But this type of stuff is happening every day around the
Oh
corner.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. What else we got this morning?
Okay, so let's get back into some politics. Donna Brazile has dropped a Washington Post opinion piece calling for 88-year-old Eleanor Holmes Norton to not seek re-election. Now, of course, we know that Miss Norton is a Democrat and the oldest current House member. Now, Brazile called Norton her dear friend for 44 years, a role model, a second mom. She actually worked on her campaign in the early days, but Brazile wrote she is no longer the dynamo she once was at a time when DC needs the kind of energetic representation in Congress she provided for decades. And so this is huge for one of the four color girls who have considered politics, a leading voice when it comes to Black women in politics, former DNC president for a certain amount of time. She's even saying that Eleanor Holmes has to go. And Mother Holmes is like, hell no.
Well, they tried to defeat her a couple of years ago at the polls. They couldn't. She's been there since 1991, I believe. The thing about it is, and we've had this conversation. A lot of them, with no disrespect to Eleanor Holmes Norton, she's almost 90 years old. Same thing with Pelosi and all of the rest who have reached those stages. I just think it's a shame that they continue to hang on. They can add value in advisory roles, in my opinion. But Eleanor Holmes Norton has fought with tooth and nail with all she's had for DC statehood.
Mm.
And it's been her biggest thing. And she's carried that, and to see it must be difficult for her right now to look at going out in the condition that the world is in right now, and the fact that she is as far away from statehood as they were when she first started. She's even further away now. And that has to really play with her right now. And so I get Donna Brazil and I get Eleanor Holmes Norton, but she also has to come to terms with, you know what, this is a different animal. We got to get younger folks in there.
Right. There was a video that was going around last week to where, she really had to be guided around. I mean, and if we're going to talk about Mitch McConnell and we're talking about, elder and, our elders, we love you. We love the contributions that you have provided for us. But I think Donna Brazil makes a great point that we need the kind of energetic representation that she provided when she first got in there. And being the state of where DC is now, you do need somebody in there that's energetic, that can speak truth to power. And I just don't think that right now she's being fed what needs to be said for the most
Yeah.
part.
And that's the key word, what you just said, being fed. It used to be, I could talk to Eleanor Holmes Norton and she spit
Right.
everything off, right? Bang, 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 bang. Now, like you said, it's being fed to her.
And she has to even be guided to where she needs to be. You can't maybe trust her to just go to the committee hall for whatever committee she sits on. She needs to be taken there, which is a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a problem.
The voters keep voting her in.
Hey. Well, and that's the most important part. If the people want her, who are we to say she shouldn't be there? But in more news, a resolution has been filed to designate October 14th, 2025 as a national day of remembrance for Charlie Kirk, because that's his birthday. But check this out. The question is, who is going to tell them that that's actually George Floyd's birthday as well? Now, who would think?
So that gives them all the more impetus to do it then, though, doesn't it?
Well, no, because guess what? That will probably be the most divided day America has ever seen.
It's what they want, though, right? They don't care. As you say, the Klan. That's what they want. And this goes along with their whole agenda of trying to erase Black history, American history.
But sometimes God works in mysterious ways. Somebody else brought up how, although it's very tragic, but Derek Chauvin had his foot on George Floyd's neck, and this guy was shot in the neck. Same birthday, and same divide of a nation. Because Charlie Kirk when he was murdered, look at how fast they doubled down on racism, removing white people as terrorists, going after Black people, lynchings, and when George Floyd was murdered, everybody headed to where he was murdered. Everybody in their city marched. It's the same thing, but just different points of views.
That's a lot, Niele.
So it's a lot to think about. God, in the words of The Color Purple, when Suge walked down that road to that church after she did all she was gonna do in her younger years, she said, "Can't sleep at night. Maybe God is trying to tell you something. Maybe God is trying to tell us something. Those who have ears, like the pastor said, let them hear." All right. And moving along, a state board has rejected a $5.4 billion hotel gaming New York casino bid for Jay-Z's Rock Nation and other countries. This story broke yesterday. The gaming proposal involving Caesars Entertainment and SL Green Realty was struck down by 6 members of a state community advisory committee in a 4-2 vote. This is interesting because, it came out that the Carters were sitting at the table with Ivanka and Jared Kushner. And it was just a big deal. Who knows if maybe that was supposed to play into it? Who knows if Beyonce played nice? Because one of the pictures showed her at the table, but then there were several other pictures that came out where Beyonce's seat was empty. Let's be clear about that. And so who knows what all of this is, but I bet you Jay-Z is not feeling too Empire State of the Nation today.
Well, Don King once told a very, very, very popular Michael Jackson, in Michael Jackson's heyday, that you are still, no matter what you do, no matter how high you go, you're still going to be just another nigga to these people. Jay-Z did the FAFO. He found out. He found out. That's how I see it. He found out.
Well, he did.
And he may have needed that check. He may have needed it. He may have needed that check on his ego. He may have to realize, okay, I still walk around with this black skin. I got $1 billion+ dollars. I am the man, but I'm still black. He may have something. Black folks sometimes need that check.
Well, I mean, I think that too, Jay-Z does have a sense of that. I mean, remember he made the song, I'm Not Black, I'm OJ. Okay. So he does have a sense of that. But also too, like, I do think that this is a lesson for him, because think about, Magic Johnson, how many times he's tried to do things, it's failed, he's come back. And so this is what it takes to be a mogul. You win some deals, sometimes you don't.
They were angry, Niele. If you saw the clips, his
partner,
and
Desiree.
And what's the name? No, Desiree put out an angry statement, but another one of his partners, a white guy, I forget his name. If you saw the clips of them walking out of the room, and he's yelling at them and telling them how bad of a this is, and et cetera, et cetera. The anger came out.
For sure. It happens. This is how corporations work. Look at the and if you think about what's happening, if you look at what's happening with all of these media conglomerates and how they are, and as you say, capitulating to Donald Trump to get their deals done, that's the first thing I thought about when I thought about that table. You know what I'm saying? Trying to, build, community with people who have no care or concern for you. And so it's a lesson that he has to learn. But if he's going to be in a $1 billion game, he's going to win lose a lot more than you win. But it only takes one win. That's all it takes is one.
All right.
And then finally, let's talk about this ban on TikTok. So it's been pushed back again, y'all. And now earlier this week, it was swirls that Larry Ellison, owner of Oracle, was purchasing it. But in the wee hours of the morning, Trump was forced to sign an executive order delaying the ban until at least December 16th. Now, before the delay, news broke that Trump was handing over TikTok to, of course, his buddy Larry Ellison, the owner of Oracle. And just so you know, Oracle is affiliated with OpenAI, who did a big deal with Donald Trump the day after he was inaugurated. And many believe Ellison will turn TikTok into a surveillance tool for Trump. Ellison helped build the detention and surveillance state in China via his company. And so, you know what this says to me, Stacy? That the Trump Klan administration is not telling us the real deal. China is telling them to go to hell. That's, to me, that's what they're not telling us, is that they're trying to force China to give up TikTok, and they're like, shut it down. We're not selling. Shut it down. If you want to shut it down, if you don't want us to own it, no problem. We're not selling. Shut it down. And Donald Trump is like, oh shit, I didn't back myself into a corner. And so I don't know how to get out of it.
That's a wow. That's an interesting take for sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
China. I totally believe that China is telling them, I don't get. No, I'm not. I'm not giving you all of my corporation. And instead of Trump telling us the truth, he just keeps delaying it. But come on, why isn't this happening this week? That all of the headlines was like TikTok is going. TikTok is I'm not giving you 80% of my company.
Well, Mike V says Oracle owns Cerner, which is the electronic health record management system that the VA uses. Talk about collusion.
I mean,
So,
so when you take a deep dive into Oracle, first of all, his son is the one that bought Paramount, right? And now they're trying to buy Warner Brothers. Okay. And now TikTok and all of our data, which is something that Donald Trump, wants to control. This man right here, this man is the new Rupert Murdoch,
mhm.
but much more lethal. He is the new Elon Musk. So a couple things to pay attention to as well. Elon Musk probably does not like this man. Okay,
Oh
doesn't
gosh.
like this man. So it's all of the internal stuff that's happening within this Klan administration that we don't know about that is bubbling over. Okay, and one of the biggest ones is TikTok, because for whatever, think about it, this is the fourth time. And look at how reckless Donald Trump is. He fired Jimmy Kimmel, Colbert. Why wouldn't he just get rid of TikTok? He knows the impact. He knows that these young millennials and Gen Zers will go off. They will go off. And he wants
Uh,
TikTok, but China is not giving it up.
well, I was gonna say
China's not giving it up.
he obviously wants it. That's another reason he's kicking it down the road. He wants it.
And China's not giving it up. And he's not, and the media is afraid to say it. And he's not going to say it because he wants to look like he's in power. But China's not giving TikTok up.
Yeah, apparently not.
Not yet. I'm not saying that they won't ever, but since he's gotten in office, they have declined his offers.
Mm. All right.
Okay. And those are your headlines for today, folks.
As Greer says, also just a footnote, remember that Trump has a young son and grandson. He's not going to shut it down. So that's a good point. Some Black history, folks. On this date back in 1895, Booker T. Washington gave his famous Atlanta Compromise speech, a classic statement on race relations. In one sentence, he summarized his concept of race relations appropriate for the times. He said, quote, "In all things that are purely social, we can be as separate as the fingers, yet one as the hand in all things essential to mutual progress. Well, in return for African Americans remaining peaceful and socially separate from whites, the white community needed to accept responsibility for improving the social and economic conditions of all Americans, regardless of skin color, according to Washington." This is what he argued. Booker T argued that. And this notion of shared responsibilities is what came to be known as the Atlanta Compromise.
And in more Black history facts, today we celebrate the ambassador of gospel music, Dr. Bobby Jones, who was born on this day in 1939. Now, if you remember, Dr. Bobby Jones was a gospel singer, and he's best known for his long-running television show, Bobby Jones Gospel, which aired on BET from 1980 to 2015. And Jones introduced all of us to gospel music, and he expanded it to a new and wider audience through his platform. So today we celebrate Dr. Bobby Jones.
Okay. Well, our Black-owned newspaper of the day is the Columbus call-in post. The call-in post was founded in 1916 by Cleveland inventor Garrett Morgan. In 1929, it merged with the Cleveland Post to become the Call-in Post newspaper. Under the leadership of editor and publisher W.O. Walker in 1932, the Call-in Post became the most influential voice for African Americans in metropolitan regions throughout the state of Ohio. So our newspaper today is the Columbus Call-in Post.
Nice. And for the latest in Black news, you want to head over to BlackPressUSA.com. And don't forget to tell a friend about Let It Be Known. Tell them to like our pages and to subscribe for the latest in Black news and entertainment.
Well, folks, we will see you again tomorrow. We won't talk about Nick Cannon tomorrow, I promise.
We can.
Oh, we can. Okay. We'll see you then. Thanks for joining.